A while ago, I made a video explaining why, despite the close relations between Israel and the United States, Israeli citizens still couldn't use their passport to visit America without needing a visa. And as if they watched my video or something, the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas recently announced that the department is seriously considering adding Israel to the Visa Waiver Program, or VWP. Man, isn't it nice to know that Big Brother's always watching? But putting that aside, let's look at what Mayorkas actually said.
We have 4 candidates in the pipeline: Israel, Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Romania. We're very, very focused on the program.
Apparently, Mayorkas said this during a travel industry event on the 27th of October. In my old video, I told you that the Israeli visa waiver issue was discussed during the August meeting between President Biden and the Israeli Prime Minister Bennett. But that was not the only conversation between the two countries surrounding this issue. During his visit in the US, Prime Minister Bennett also met with Secretary of State Antony Blinken and brought up the topic again. But even before that, Mayorkas, the Jewish-Cuban Homeland Security Secretary, had talks with the Israeli ambassador in March about a visa-free arrangement. He didn't bring up a timeline, but as I mentioned in my previous videos, Israeli citizens' US visa refusal rate plays a major role in whether they are eligible for VWP. Assuming that the DHS will need to look at the visa refusal rate from 2021 and then make their decision, then the soonest we can expect Israel to be included will be in the second half of 2022. As much as I would like to say congratulations to the Israeli people if this goes through, I guess I'll also have to say condolences to their personal information, because if you remember, I told you that one of the conditions of putting a country on the visa waiver list is that the government must share their citizens' information with the US. That being said, we shouldn't exclude the possibility that the US government might just exempt Israel, Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Romania from these conditions. It's not like this has never happened. A law passed in 2008 allows the Homeland Security Secretary to go easy on certain countries by relaxing the visa refusal rate requirement to an easy 10%. This discretionary power was used to allow Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Slovakia, Malta, and South Korea to become members of the VWP, despite them having pretty high visa refusal rates. It's completely possible that the United States could fast-track the admission of the 4 countries in question in order to revitalize the tourism sector, which has been plagued by you-know-what, considering that Croatia's admission to the VWP earlier this year is adding $100 million to the US economy, according to Travel Association Chief Executive Roger Dow. Getting Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Romania to join the VWP will also benefit American travelers. You see, while the entire European Union welcomes American travelers visa-free, the US doesn't extend the same courtesy towards every EU country. Europe has urged the United States to include every EU member state on numerous occasions. In 2017, the European Parliament even passed a resolution to cancel Americans' visa-free access to Europe until reciprocity is achieved.
Visa reciprocity between the EU and US ensures visa-free travel across the Atlantic. But not if you're Bulgarian, Croatian, Cypriot, Polish, or Romanian. If you're from one of those EU countries, you need to head to your US embassy and get a visa. Now, back in 2014, the affected member states alerted the European Commission to the foul play they received on visa reciprocity. The EU's executive was obliged to act by April 2016, but didn't, for fear of retribution or for fall in US tourists. Now, this was according to the Commissioner for Migration, Dimitris Avramopoulos, back in December. Now, today at the European Parliament, MEPs decided that enough was enough. And in an act of solidarity, they overwhelmingly backed a resolution calling on the Commission to act within 2 months.
This was the new clear option, because once the EU bans Americans from coming in visa-free, the US will likely ban all Europeans too, ensuring mutual destruction. In the end, the European Commission chickened out and did not act on the resolution. But the position was quite clear. America's discriminatory treatment towards EU member states is not acceptable. Perhaps realizing the potential damage, the US added Poland and Croatia to the VWP in 2019 and 2021 respectively, leaving only Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Romania as the only 3 EU members not subscribed to the Visa Waiver Program. Speaking of which, if you have not subscribed to my channel, now is the time to do so. Back to the topic. Among them, Bulgaria is the most feisty one, claiming that it will not ratify the TTIP trade agreement unless their citizens can visit the US visa-free. Before you accuse Bulgaria of taking hostage of free trade in exchange for travel convenience, let's not forget that trade, immigration, and foreign policies are all interconnected. In fact, America is often the one that exploits visa policy in order to gain advantages in trade. For example, in 2012, the US government was persuading Taiwan to buy American beef, which had been restricted because American beef contains ractopamine, a chemical substance that's banned in Taiwan for health and food safety. At the same time, for some reason, the Americans started considering adding Taiwan to the Visa Waiver Program. Both governments denied the linkage between the two issues. However, it surely was a strange coincidence that Taiwanese passport holders got their green light to go to the USA just 3 months after they agreed to buy USDA beef. If you're getting a deja vu, then it makes two of us, because if you're old enough, you might remember that Japan signed the Beef Market Access Agreement in 1988, which increased the Japanese purchase of US beef by 1,000%. And right after that, in December 1988, the Japanese passport was allowed into the Visa Waiver Program. I'm sure that was a coincidence too. If you thought the deja vu is over, think again, because the same scenario replayed itself in South Korea later on. The Korean government originally banned US beef imports in 2003 due to mad cow disease, but in 2008, during the negotiation regarding a new free trade agreement, the Korean government was lobbied to reopen the market for American beef products. This unpopular move sparked huge protests.
For many weeks, Koreans have been taking to the streets to protest against the beef deal. People from all walks of life gather every evening in the city center to put more pressure on the government. The protests have become a people power movement.
But the deal was made in spite of the protests, and guess what? Later that year in November, the South Korean passport was awarded the privilege of visa-free travel to the US. It seems American beef has somehow always had a stake in the country's visa policy. Pun intended. You might say, I ain't afraid of ractopamine or mad cow disease. Having access to both New York Strip and New York State sounds like a fantastic deal. But that's a very surface level understanding of these deals. The Korean protesters were concerned not only because of the health implications, but also because allowing cheap and low quality American beef products to flood the market would likely drive local farmers out of competition and stifle the traditional way of rural life. Plus, the meat industry is probably just the tip of the iceberg in what's ransomed by the Americans. We have no way of knowing the specifics behind these backdoor deals. There could be much more areas in which our government sold out to the Americans. I'll leave it to your imagination. But hey, surely it feels good to be able to give money to the American farmers for their chemically raised cattle and then go for your 90-day vacation in America and spend even more money on hotels and restaurants when Americans can come to your country and stay twice as long. I'm sure that's what reciprocity means, right? Hey guys, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to know more about immigration and passports, hit the bell. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.